Continuing from our discussion of the recovery fund's payment limits, for a single real estate transaction, it is essential to understand how Arizona law regulates the total amount that may be paid out due to the actions of one individual licensee over the entire span of their licensure. This safeguard ensures that while consumers are compensated for verified financial losses, the fund remains strong enough to protect future claimants and maintain the trust and stability of Arizona's real estate system. Under ARS Section 322-188A, the total aggregate amount that may be paid out from the Arizona Real Estate Recovery Fund for claims arising from the conduct of any one licensee is $90,000. This cap represents the maximum financial liability that the fund will assume for all transactions and all claimants combined that are linked to a single licensee, regardless of how many individuals suffered losses or how many transactions were involved. Once the fund pays out $90,000 on behalf of a licensee, no additional payments can be made for any other claims connected to that same person's license activities. The aggregate limit functions as both a consumer protection and financial management tool. It ensures that claimants receive some restitution while preserving the fund's overall solvency for the benefit of future consumers who may also need protection. Without this limit, a single dishonest or negligent licensee could potentially exhaust a large portion of the fund, leaving insufficient resources for others. Arizona's legislature designed this cap to maintain a fair balance between compensating victims and safeguarding the collective financial stability of the program, which is sustained by fees contributed by all licensees under Arizona Revised Statutes, Section 322-186A. For example, imagine a licensed broker in Scottsdale engages in multiple fraudulent property management schemes involving several clients. One client loses $40,000, another $25,000, and two others lose $35,000 each. The combined verified damages exceed $135,000. However, the recovery fund may only pay up to $90,000 in total for all these claims combined. The payments are distributed on a proportional basis among claimants as determined by the court or the department, meaning each victim receives a share of the total recovery based on the percentage of their loss relative to the total amount claimed. Once the $90,000 cap has been reached, the licensee's real estate license is automatically terminated by operation of law under ARS Section 322-188B. This termination is mandatory and remains in effect until the licensee repays the recovery fund in full for every dollar dispersed on their behalf, including any applicable interest or fees. The licensee cannot renew or reinstate their license, nor apply for a new one, until the full reimbursement has been made and approved by the Arizona Department of Real Estate. This requirement ensures personal accountability for the harm caused and discourages reckless or fraudulent behavior in the future. This statutory process also reflects Arizona's strong stance on consumer protection and professional responsibility. The aggregate limit of $90,000 is not designed to reward dishonesty or shield licensees from the full consequences of their actions. Instead, it balances public protection with industry sustainability by making the fund a source of partial restitution rather than full compensation. Consumers are encouraged to pursue additional legal remedies against the licensee for any remaining unpaid losses. Courts may still enforce judgments through wage garnishment, asset seizure, or liens, but the recovery fund itself will not pay beyond the statutory cap. It is also important to note that this $90,000 limit applies only to funds paid on behalf of the licensee. If the same broker operates through a corporate entity, such as an LLC or professional corporation, and that entity also holds a license, claims may be filed separately under each license number. In that case, each licensed entity is treated individually under the statute, and each may have its own $90,000 aggregate cap. This distinction underscores the importance of proper licensing and record keeping within brokerage firms and teams. Arizona courts have consistently upheld the purpose of these statutory limits as reasonable and necessary. In State ex Relers Arizona Department of Real Estate versus Arizona Property Management Company, 1988, the court affirmed that the recovery fund's limits were established to protect the public interest, ensuring that compensation is available to multiple victims without draining the fund. This case reinforced that the recovery fund is a public resource, not a substitute for civil litigation or private insurance. The existence of the $90,000 aggregate limit also motivates brokers and salespersons to maintain strict compliance with ethical standards, financial management practices, and the commissioner's rules. By following trust account regulations under R4 28 802, exercising diligent supervision under R4 28 1103, and maintaining honesty and integrity as required by ARS Section 32 2153A3, licensees minimize the risk of ever facing recovery fund claims. The cap serves as a reminder that even though the fund exists as a safety net for consumers, the ultimate responsibility to avoid causing harm lies squarely with each real estate professional. Review Summary. In this section, you learn that under ARS Section 322188A, the total aggregate amount that may be paid out of the Arizona Real Estate Recovery Fund for the actions of a single licensee is $90,000. This limit applies regardless of how many claimants or transactions are involved. Once the fund reaches the $90,000 payment threshold for a licensee, no further payments can be made, and the license is automatically terminated under ARS Section 32-2188B until full repayment is made to the fund. This statutory cap ensures that the fund remains solvent, promotes fairness among claimants, and enforces personal responsibility among real estate professionals. Discussion. Why does the recovery fund have a $90,000 total aggregate limit per licensee? Answer. To preserve the solvency of the fund and ensure fairness by allowing compensation to multiple victims without depleting resources for future claims. What happens when the fund pays $90,000 on behalf of a single licensee? Answer. The licensee's real estate license is automatically terminated until they repay the fund in full, including interest. Does the $90,000 aggregate cap apply to the licensee's business entity as well as the individual? Answer. Yes. If both the individual and the entity hold separate licenses, each may have its own $90,000 limit under ARS Section 32-2188A. Why must a licensee repay the fund after payment is made on their behalf? Answer. Because repayment is required to restore their eligibility for licensure and to reimburse the public resource that compensated their victims. How does the aggregate limit reinforce professional accountability? Answer. It ensures that licensees bear the ultimate responsibility for their actions while maintaining a fair, balanced system of consumer protection. Closing remarks. The $90,000 aggregate limit under ARS Section 322188A represents a cornerstone of Arizona's approach to balancing public protection with professional accountability. It guarantees that victims of real estate fraud or misconduct receive a measure of justice while safeguarding the fund's continued ability to serve others. This limit also emphasizes the weight of a licensee's ethical duties and the serious consequences of violating public trust. Every real estate professional contributes to the recovery fund through licensure fees, making it not only a shared financial responsibility, but also a reflection of the industry's collective integrity. Maintaining compliance with laws and regulations ensures that the recovery fund remains a safety net for those who truly need it, and not a remedy for preventable misconduct.